Therapy School community members. In this episode, we're going to be talking about pricing strategies for cash physical therapists. We're going to be going over the common pricing strategy pitfalls that keep a lot of cash physical therapists and would-be success stories from ever being able to replace their salaries and go all in on their practices. We're going to be talking about the no-brainer method for choosing your rates, how to overcome imposter syndrome and start charging what you're worth finally without feeling gross and kind of icky about it, as well as the Ethos Fallacy and how to determine, should you be selling cash packages versus one-off visits? What is the best thing for your practice and for your patients? As always, we don't do any advertisements within these podcasts. All we do is share what is working right now to rapidly grow and scale cash rehab practices. And so all we ask of you, the only tax that we put is for you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast if you get value out of it. And as always, if you have any questions, make sure to drop them in the comments. We love following up with you, making sure that all of your questions are answered, as well as any ideas you have for future content. Ben, how you feeling today, man?
Doing good. No, I'm excited about this one. It's a topic that I see all too common people make mistakes with, and it impacts their practice for years to come. And it's really, really important. Obviously, and it's really going to make or break your practice on what race you decide to choose to go with.
100%. So get out your pen and paper. This is definitely going to be a note taker. We're going to make this quick and concise and eliminate all of the fluff and just tell you exactly what it is you need to hear to finally start charging what it is you're worth and the things that you need to know in the long term to build a successful practice. So let's start with the common pitfalls of pricing strategies that are holding most cash physical therapists back from reaching the level of success and the level of impact that they had in mind when they started their practice. What's the first one that comes to mind for you, Ben?
Really they're trying to figure out what they think the market will hold. Mm-hmm. You know, they also make their pricing based on what they would pay or what they think that is fair or what they would pay. That's probably the number one thing that I see people do incorrectly is try and guess what they think the market will hold and what people will or will not pay based on their own personal assumptions. So they're making the entire decision off of their feelings and not reality. So that's number one thing I see. But yeah, what do you see?
No, I'd agree with that. I mean, everyone, the first thing they typically do is go and look at what other people are charging without having any context into how successful that business is. And even more importantly, does the entrepreneur and the owner of that business have the kind of lifestyle that they want to emulate and they want to have? Because you might be modeling and copying someone else who's absolutely miserable in their life and not even close to having what it is that you want out of yours. And so blindly copying other people is a really, really fast way to the bottom. And the other piece is that when you're setting your rates and you start to think about like, well, what would I be willing to pay? You are projecting your own price sensitivities, your own internal financial thermostat onto other people, not realizing it's like, one, you don't know their financial situation and you don't have the same values that they might have. They might not make as much money as, some other people, but maybe they've already tried every possible thing to solve their problem and they're suffering and they're not able to live the life that they want to have. And therefore they're willing to pay a premium to finally have a solution. So a lot of people are shooting themselves in the foot by not working on their own financial mindset, not working on their own financial thermostat, and they're just projecting that all over other people. We had a situation with one of our clients who lived in a very blue-collar town here in Wisconsin, a few hours north of where I am here in Milwaukee. Very blue-collar town. Their practice was open for over a year. The husband was stuck working PRN hours that were sapping the life out of him. He was rarely ever home to be present with his wife, who worked with him in the clinic doing wellness care, and spend time with his kids. And they came to a point where they were about to shut down the practice. They had worked with other coaching programs. Nothing really seemed to work. And so they came to us off of a referral. And the first thing they said when we recommended, okay, you're going to charge $200 a visit and you're going to start selling packages, they said no way would anyone pay those rates in their town, let alone buy a package, because everyone in their town was mostly factory workers. And but they weren't in a position to kind of combat it. They needed a win, and they needed it very quickly, and they're willing to kind of submit themselves to our recommendations. They did it right out of the gate, out of necessity. And within 60 days, they went from having never done more than $7,000 a month. Typically, they were much lower than that. That was their best month ever for over a year and a half in business. And within 60 days of running this model, they were doing over $30,000 a month. Today, they're pushing 60. They have a team of 5 clinicians on them. That just a year after being close to shutting down their practice. And what they learned is that in these towns where most people think they're too small, it's blue collar, they'll never pay these rates, they realize that because they're in those small towns, that everyone is limited to a very small group of potential providers to help them with their problem. And all the people that they want to help have already tried all of those other methods, and they're desperate for something better. And so they projected their own price sensitivity. They made their own assumptions based off of kind of what people looked like in their community. And they made an assumption that kept them trapped for over a year and a half, that sapped the life out of them, lost a year and a half of being the type of parents and having the type of relationship they wanted to have. But then they started charging the more premium rates, which gave them the leverage to not only start paying themselves, allowed Philip to get out of his job within a matter of a few months. And then now they're removed from treatment for the most part. And now they have the dream business that they always wanted. They've even moved and upgraded their own house within a year and a half, 2-year span of starting to charge what they actually are worth and removing their own price sensitivity and bias and projecting that on other people. And so those are, I'd say, the 2 biggest mistakes. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So let's talk about how to actually go about setting your rates. Let's talk about the no-brainer method, because there's actually a very strategic and logical way to discover your rates. And it is not looking at other businesses. It's about factoring in how many people you want to see, how much money you want to make, how many days you want to spend treating each month, and what the business is. And when you plug in all these numbers, you can actually calculate exactly what your rates ought to be. We have a calculator for you to be able to punch this in. It'll be linked beneath this video. Ben, you want to share your screen and let's walk through the calculator real quick.
Yeah, and I also want to elaborate too that this is probably a top 3 mistake. Probably the 3rd biggest mistake is people deciding their pricing based, pretty much the business is not serving them. The whole point of your business is to serve you, and that is how you base your rates. And that's what the whole this calculator that I'm going to share with you guys is about. It's your business is there to serve you, and so that's how you need to set your rates. Is what do my rates need to be able to have the life that I want to, and be able to help people the way I want to as well. So let's see if we can get this. There we go.
While it pulls that up, just to recap that, the 3 biggest mistakes are looking at others for your pricing, not knowing anything about their business, letting your emotions drive your pricing based off of your own financial bias. The number 3 is not strategically designing your rates based off of the type of life and business you want to have. Love that. Let's go into it.
Yep. So first of all, we need to figure out what we want.
Are you sharing your screen right now?
Yeah, you should be. Are you able to see it?
No, I'm not able to see it.
It says that I'm sharing it.
Hold on. Cash practice price and acquisition calculator. I'll share my screen.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's do. Okay, I got it. Are you? There we go. You able to see that? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So what Jordan is showing here is the profit first chart recommendation, and which helps you identify like, hey, what bracket am I in? Am I in bracket A, B, C, D, or E? And if you're just starting out, you're most likely in bracket A, because that means you'll be generating between $0 to $250,000. So based on what you're making, that is going to dictate what you are able to pay yourself. So if you are making $0 to $250,000, you should be paying yourself about 50% of what you're making. Okay. And then operating expenses should be around 30%. And then the profit and savings should be around 5%. And then taxes at 15%. Okay. So what we did here is over in the left-hand column under the financial goals per month, we divvied up what those percentages are based in column A. Again, if you are further along B or C, these percentages will change to make sure they match up. So if we want, let's say that we want to pay ourselves, Jordan, I'm have you type in $10,000 for that monthly take-home goal. And then I'm also going to have you type in business expenses, yes, at 60,000. That is good. Business savings at 1,000, and then we have 3,000 for taxes. So that's perfect. So if we want to have a take-home pay of $10,000, okay, again, take-home is 50% of what we make. So 50% of 20,000 is at 10,000. So you have to, and this is a false belief that a lot of people have, is like, oh, I just need to make, if I want to make $10,000 in a month, I just need to make $10,000 per month in my business, and I can take all that. Not the case. All right. On average, it's usually around 50% of that. So to be able to, again, make the kind of money that you want, if it's set at 10,000, you need to be generating $20,000 within your practice. So that is the piece that you need to figure out where you have to make the decision on what you want to make. Some people will say that's 10,000. Some people will say 50,000. Some will say 100,000. Some will say 5,000. Figure out what you need and then double that. Okay. So once we know what we need to make in our practice, now we can reverse engineer what we need to charge and also how many patients we want to be seeing per week. So let's say that we want to see, for me personally, my cap was usually between 25 to 30 patients a week when it was just me. Anything after that, it started getting pretty overwhelming. So the sweet spot for me is 25. So let's say that you want to see 25 hours of patients. And let's say you want to do admin hours of 8 and then business development hours of 8 to work 41 hours. That you can do that. I want to let you know that if you really want to grow and scale your practice, those admin hours, those business development hours are going to be substantially higher than just 15 hours there. But just for purposes, let's say you just want to work 40 hours and see 25 hours worth of patients. That gives us an idea of exactly how many hours we need to work. All right. So what we're going to do here is we need to figure out the average price per visit to meet the financial goal. So in that column where it says 200 under price structuring, if you click into that formula, Jordan,
yep.
What it does is it just takes the 200,000, or sorry, the $20,000 that you want to make and divides that by the 25 hours of patients. Okay, and that will spit out that number of what you need to be generating per month within your practice to be able to charge. Help you decide what to charge based on the number of patients you want to see and the total revenue that you want to bring in.
Right.
All right.
So let's cut it there, because I know we have our recommended breakdown for packages, and you can copy this exactly. We have a 6-pack, a 10-pack, and a 16-pack that we offer folks. And then this is just basically a percentage off per visit when they commit to more packages or more visits up front. And now let's talk about this 200 for a second. Like, everyone thinks that we're just charging $200 because we want to be expensive and we want to have the highest profit margin possible, which is of course true in business. You want to have a high profit margin so that you can reinvest it into other areas of your business, like the patient experience, different equipment, hiring a team, and of course paying yourself. But this is how we determine. It's like, this is what people need to be charging, because anything over this is where your lifestyle and your business start to have diminishing returns. And so whenever we're building a business, whenever we're coaching people, we want to make sure that we're not just focused on making money. We're making sure that we're building the type of lifestyle that allows the owner, the entrepreneur, to become the absolute best, happiest versions of themselves, because that is the condition that allows them to help people the most. They're able to pour more of themselves into each person. And in order to truly be the best version of yourself, this is what you need to be charging, to give yourself the space and the grace and the margin to be able to focus a little bit more on yourself, to focus on the parts of the business that are going to make it be successful outside of just patient care. And so if you're charging less than this, you're in a pretty dangerous spot where you're going to be working far more hours. You're going to be more stressed out. Because you're more stressed out, you're going to give less of yourself to your patients. They're going to get less of a connection with you. And it's going to hurt your patient lifetime value. It's going to hurt the number of visits that patients average with you, because you're just more worn out and you're not able to be as good of a leader and a mentor to these people that they're ultimately looking for. right? And so that's why we recommend most people like get to that 200 range as quickly as you can. So let's talk a little bit about overcoming some of the imposter syndrome around charging this, because I think everyone understands from a logical perspective. It's like, okay, you're right. I need to be charging $200 per visit, but like that's still like that's expensive based off of where I'm at in my life, the debt that I've accumulated, how much I'm currently getting paid for my job, and how high my expenses are at home. $200 for me seems like a crazy number. So asking other people to pay that, there's a little bit of a misalignment where it feels uncomfortable to be able to charge that. And so I want to talk for a moment just about hold on, let me close. There we go. About charging those rates and making yourself comfortable with charging those rates. And so first of all, I want to just explain, and we kind of talked about this before, that there is no competitive advantage to being medium priced. A lot of you have picked your rates based off of some other business in town, and you don't want to be too expensive because then you think everyone's going to go to them. That's not true. People don't buy based off price. They buy based off of value and how you make them feel. And so a lot of people go with the middle ground because they think that's a safe space, but there's only a competitive advantage in being the cheapest, which we don't want to do because that's a quick race to the bottom. The only businesses who can pull that off are the Athleticos. And because they have the infrastructure to be able to sustain that because they're so big. To succeed in our world and to provide the quality of care that we want to give to folks and to change what people perceive physical therapy can do for them, we need to be in that higher premium percentile where we're able to give them more time, we're able to give them more resources, we're able to give them a better experience, because everyone has tried the cheap stuff. Everyone has tried using their insurance. Everyone has tried the medium tiered stuff and it didn't work. Now they're looking for a more premium solution that they're going to get a more personalized experience that's actually going to drive a result home. In order to do that, we have to be charging more. And so if you want people to perceive you as the best, we have to be priced in that way, because a lot of our perception around how good something is comes from the price. There's a very real value that people get. And there's a ton of studies around this in their brain when they invest in something that's more expensive. There's a really cool study around wine where they tested having samplings of wine where it was a blind test. They didn't know what kind of wine it was. All they knew was the price of the wine bottles. And across the board, everyone voted the most expensive wine as being the best tasting wine. And they had all these different feedback about how bad the cheap wine was and how the medium wine was okay, but the more expensive one was the best, not realizing that all three wines were the exact same. And so there's a very real value that people get when they invest in a higher tiered thing. And so just realize it's like, if you want people to, if you are striving to be the best in your community, not just medium, like it's not enough to just be the best, providing the best clinical skills and getting the best outcomes, but it's also about providing the best experience and making people feel that you are the best in every single thing that you do. And part of that starts with the price, because now they feel like they're at the very get-go, they're investing in getting the absolute best versus waiting 6 visits to get the best outcome. Okay. And so we have to start to take into account the psychology and the actual emotions and feelings of each person when they make that buying decision. Okay. And if you're charging too low, you're going to attract the wrong types of people. At 200, you're going to attract the most motivated people to get a result. And that's going to lead to the best relationships, more referrals, more reviews, and the best outcomes. Right. And so take that with a grain of salt. Or take that into account when you set this stuff up. Now,
one thing on that, Jordan, thing on that too, that a lot of people that are just starting out, they're not thinking long-term either. Mm-hmm. That when it comes to the point where somebody wants to hire and bring somebody on, if you're not charging enough, you simply won't be able to. And even if you can squeak by and hire somebody, you're not going to be attracting the best talent in your area. The best physical therapists want to get paid the best too. And in order to employ them, you have to be charging rates that warrant that and support you being able to bring on the best PTs. So if you truly want to be the best in the area, you have to have the best PTs as you grow and scale. And the only way to do that is be able to offer them great salaries, a great work environment, culture. And the best way to do that is by being able to compensate them and charge what they're truly worth and attract those types of talents. So when you're just starting out, it's hard to really think that far ahead. But when you do get to that point, you will be thanking yourself for doing that and having that, being able to foreshadow that and having the correct rates in place to be able to do that instead of stalling the growth within your practice.
Not to mention, the lower your rates, the cost of acquiring patients goes through the roof. Okay. Because now you bring on someone, you're charging $150 per visit. This means in order to offset their salary and still make a profit, you need more patients, which means you're going to burn out your PTs faster because they're going to need to see more people more frequently. And you're going to have to pay in either time or resources to acquire all of those patients. And if you need more patients to hit the number, you're going to have to spend more time and energy in marketing. And so if you charge more, you need fewer patients, which reduces your costs of marketing. And so there are so many logical reasons why you have to start charging at this level. But let's talk a little bit about how do we overcome the imposter syndrome with charging that? Because I think we all probably understand, it's like, you're right, like I need to do this. The way that we do it and the way that we teach people to do it is a very, very simple exercise of just increasing your own perceived value about what it is that you're worth. And what we have people do is we call it the 50 reasons why exercise. And so we have everyone pull out a sheet of paper, they tally out 1 through 50 on that sheet of paper, and then they write down every single way that they can think of, 50 ways that investing in your services changes the life of the patient for the better. Now, getting to the first 10, very, very easy. Getting in the first 20, still pretty easy. But writing out 50 reasons that on how you impact the lives of your patients is going to be hard. You're going to have to sweat. You're going to have to think about it. It's going to take you a while. It might take you a few goes before you even get to 50. But by the time you get to 50, you realize how big of an impact you actually have on your patients' lives and how many different ways that you're actually serving them. And it's much, much easier for you once you've gone through that exercise to justify. It's like, yeah, I'm totally worth $200. As a matter of fact, I'm worth way more than that. And so that's a really easy way to start to work up to it. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that starting with lower rates means it's going to be an easier sale. Convincing someone to buy a $200 thing versus a $150 thing or even a $100 thing is it's just as easy to sell all of those things to somebody. I would even argue that it is far easier to sell something at a higher price tag because people actually believe that it's going to be good. If you are priced the exact same as everyone else, they're asking, how are you different? Like, what makes you different? Why should I go with you? And you're going to be stuck in this state of having to convince people of your value. And we don't want to do that. Lower prices, you're attracting cheaper people who have more objections, who are going to challenge you and try to pinch as many pennies as they can. Once you charge a higher rate, you're attracting a higher caliber of patient that fights you much less on your rates. And so if you're thinking like my patients would never pay $200 per visit, you're probably right because you've attracted a $100 or $150 per hour patient. And if you're trying to build a successful cash practice and you've been using, I use a fishing analogy for this. Like if you're fishing and you're at $150 per visit, you've been fishing for bluegill your entire life and you've been using bluegill bait. Okay. Of course, if you decide that, hey, I want to start fishing for muskies and you put on a much bigger bait and you're thinking like the bluegill will never bite a muskie bait, you're absolutely right because you've been going after bluegill. And now we're trying to attract muskie by using a larger bait. And so you're probably right. A lot of your patients would drop off, but even 50% of them stayed at your new higher rate, you'd still be making more money with less effort. And so keep that in consideration as you grow. People will pay $200. Everyone is tired of healthcare. Trust in healthcare providers is at the lowest it's been in decades. And they're hungry for someone who's going to tell them the truth, that's going to give them the quality service that they actually want. So keep all those things in mind. That's how we help our clients overcome the imposter syndrome of charging what they're worth. Just start where you need to be. Don't think you got to work your way up to it because it's harder to replace lower quality patients with higher ones when you already have a schedule full of them. Anything to add to that, Ben?
No, it just makes your day-to-day much more enjoyable. I remember when I first started out, I was charging $135 and between $135 and $145 depending on packaging. Mm-hmm. I was having to justify it after every single eval, exactly what Jordan said. Why are you different? I was like getting just attacked every time on and trying to justify and back myself up on why I was worth it. We don't get that now that we're at 200, 225, 250. We just don't get that. And it just makes it so much more enjoyable. You don't have to sit there and justify and try and prove your worth to somebody over day in and day out. It's exhausting. So that's another thing too. It will improve your quality of life.
Right, because they just inherently believe that it's going to be better and different because it is so much more expensive than the alternative. And so it's funny when people first start charging that, start like selling packages around that, how much easier it is to actually get people to want to work with them compared to when they were charging the low ticket and going on a per visit rate. It's actually really, really cool and eye-opening when people first do it.
Yeah.
Let's
I think too, one thing that can be really powerful in being able to wrap, if you're dealing with like imposter syndrome, like think about the results reflect on the results that you've gotten for your patients in the past, whether it's a clinical rotation or patients that you've worked with in your current job that you haven't quit or whatnot, or maybe you are in your cash practice. Think about the results that you've gotten for your patients. Like I reflect on a lot of different stories. Like I was able to help somebody. They had this family trip coming up over in Europe. Can't remember what part of Europe, but they had a family trip coming up and they had like a foot issue and they were thinking about having to cancel and they've been looking forward to it for the last 2 years. And it was they were getting older. It was one of the last chances that they were going to be able to go to Europe, get everybody, the entire family over there. And I was able to help them be able to do that. I guarantee if you ask that person, was it $2,000 that they invest in that worth it to have that experience? Say right. Yes, every single time. I've never had a patient that got done with 10 visits and got the results that they wanted that said that it was not worth it. And we just helped. We had 400 people come in last week that say that raised their hand to see it paying $200 plus per session to work with us. So think about the true results that you get for your patients, not that you help them overcome knee pain. It's the end result that you help people with, right? Like we help runners. We're helping them be able to, they gain 15, 20 pounds. And now they're depressed because they're not getting the runner's high. They're not exercising. And now they're frustrated and they're taking their emotions out on their spouse because they aren't getting their exercise. They're feeling burnt out. Mm-hmm. Now we're able to help them get their life back, lose that 20 pounds they gain, help improve their life with their spouse and their family. It's worth it, right? So think about the bigger, true, deeper results that you're getting for patients. It's going to be helpful with that.
That's right. And now we had a question in the comments about where to get this calculator. I just added it to the description of this video. You should see that in there, or updating now if you refresh the page. So let's talk about kind of an elephant in the room, because a lot of people, they want to sell packages, but they feel like they have a moral dilemma coming up where it doesn't match their ethos, where the point of physical therapy is to only get people out of the pain that they hired you to solve. And so a lot of people, like, they don't want to sell them a 10 visit package because in their mind, it's like, I can get them better in 3. Like, why would I sell them like a 10 visit package? And so this is an ongoing discussion that we're having more and more frequently with folks. And so let's talk about that, because it's a little bit about treatment philosophy. It's a little bit about, what is the actual job of physical therapists, and is that something that we think needs to change? I know I personally think, like, what most physical therapists are taught around, like, what they should be doing, what people actually need, I think doesn't align with what the market actually wants right now and what they actually need and what they're craving. I think physical therapists have a tremendous opportunity to really drive some innovation and change in healthcare. So let's talk about the pros and cons, I guess, to start off with selling packages here.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll start with maybe packages aren't right for you. If you are truly a practitioner that your only goal is to help somebody get out of pain temporarily, then packages probably aren't for you. But if you are somebody that wants to truly get life-changing results for people, long-term results, and help them more than just getting out of pain, then packages are for you.
That's right.
So if you're a practitioner that just, thinks that, I'm going to see them for 2 or 3 visits, they're out of pain, I think a miracle worker. No, those people, I think it's almost damn near impossible to get somebody with an injury that's been going on for more than a few months, truly long-term results in 2 or 3 visits. What a lot of practitioners think that get those type of results for people in 2 or 3 visits is the reality is you actually didn't get them long-term results. You just didn't hear from them again because they didn't come back because they didn't think that actually worked. But here you think you're a miracle worker because, I solved them in 2 or 3 visits. No, you just hear from them again so that you got to assume that. So that's the big thing too, is really dig deep within yourself and ask yourself, am I actually getting people long-term life-changing results with just 2 or 3 visits? And can you provide more value? That's the thing too, is like, I challenge the physical therapist when they start with me, a lot of people struggle with this, is dive deeper. Do you really only have a skill set that somebody could benefit for 2 or 3 visits? You're saying that you have your doctorate of physical therapy and this wealth of knowledge, and people couldn't benefit from working with you for 5, 10, 15, 20, God forbid, 50 visits.
Right.
I think I can provide value for us as physical therapists in general, can provide enough value for somebody to work with us every single month until they die. Like, we can continue to provide enough value to justify that and get them long-term results. So that's kind of my soapbox on packages and worth versus per visit, and the value that we actually can bring to people if we get out of the mindset of, oh, we just help people get out of pain, get
right.
long-term results for people, and you can justify packages.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up, because you're right. There is definitely a place in the market for people who just want to get people in and out to solve the problem that they came in for, and that's definitely a need in the marketplace. But I think for us, like, the reason, Ben, like, why your practice is so successful and why our 300 plus clients have generated more than $20 million in the last year is because our philosophy on what it is that we sell and our treatment strategy is just so fundamentally different than what a lot of people are thinking about. Like us, like, we know that the majority of problems that people associate with just like an inevitable part of aging, we know is preventable, and that it is actually a choice that people have. And so our philosophy around treating isn't selling physical therapy or selling knee pain relief. It's selling the transformation that happens within people when they realize that they can optimize their body and prevent a lot of the things that they think are going to slow them down, make them stop their favorite hobbies, make them not be able to keep up with their kids. That is a choice that we can prevent. And so when we're talking to patients, we're not talking to them just about their knee pain. We're talking about, like, what is it that you want to get back to? What kind of life do you want to have 5, 10, 15 years from now? And how can we prevent future injuries from happening to make sure that you can have the best life, the most active life that you want to have? And that is what we're selling. It's not just the pain relief. It's mentorship, it's leadership, it's education, it's helping them become the best versions of themselves. And that is why people are so excited about investing in your packages and in our clients' packages, because they're learning so much about themselves. We're overcoming false beliefs around what's possible as you age and what kind of life you can actually have. And that's why people are sticking around longer. That's why you're averaging 9.1 visits across 9 different clinicians. Seeing how many patients are you guys seeing?
We saw over 400 last month alone.
People are aching for healthcare providers who aren't just there to treat symptoms, but to actually solve the root problem of things and give them the education and give them the leadership on how to be better versions of themselves. That is what people want in healthcare. That is why the masses are so mistrusting of healthcare right now, because everyone is only solving what they want, what patients want solved, not what they need solved, and only doing the bare minimum to get them out of the door faster so that insurance isn't paying for more stuff. They want leadership. They want to be told what they need, not what they want. And that's the trend that we're seeing. And everyone who adopts this philosophy of, I want to normalize prevention and prehab, the people who are doing that are retaining their patients longer. They're seeing greater transformations. They're getting more referrals, and they're seeing their businesses transform very, very quickly, where they're able to build teams, where they're able to remove themselves from treatment and become mentors to another group of PTs. These are the people who are driving the profession forward and completely changing the landscape of physical therapy, having this philosophy of, I'm not just trying to get them out of the door. I'm trying to give them the best life humanly possible by normalizing not only treatment, but monthly or quarterly tune-ups to help make sure that they are remaining healthy, keeping a good, healthy wellness mindset, and consistently striving to be the best versions of themselves. Those are who are winning right now.
Yeah. People are sick of the Band-Aid solutions. They want long-term solutions to long-term health.
That's right. That's right. Now, when you go on a per visit basis, and keep in mind, I think a lot of people make some assumptions around selling packages. Not everyone is going to buy a package. Okay. Everyone recommends a package. That is the first recommendation out of our mouth. But we downsell into an ongoing visit. Right now, only, Ben, what percentage of your patients actually commit to a package?
It varies depending on the physical therapist. Some physical therapists have 30% conversion rate into a painful. Some have 50. What we look for is there's multiple ways to skin a cat when it comes to this. What we're truly looking for is the painful is great, but what we're looking for is the average visit per plan of care. Mm-hmm. So there's some PTs that only convert packages at 30% painfuls, but their average per visit is at that 9 mark. And then there's some PTs that do more painfuls at that 50% mark, and they're also at that 9% or that 9 visit average visit per plan of care, right? So as long as they're hitting that, it doesn't matter a whole lot on if they're painful. I will state that obviously the more painfuls you have, the increased likelihood of that per visit rate being where it needs to be. But we also see if you swing too far for just pushing with nothing but painfuls, you get less people. If that's your only option, you're getting less people coming back for at least a few visits and at least being able to earn their trust. Like our physical therapist that has the best average visit per plan of care, she is at that 30 to 35% painful mark. And it's because what she does is she recommends the package, but if they do it and doing the painful option, but if they truly have like a cash flow issue, what we do is we give them the per visit option and a verbal agreement is what we call it. So we state like, hey, Ms. Smith, sounds like it's truly a cash flow issue. It sounds like you are in it for the 10 sessions and completely bought it. Is that true? Yes, that's true. Awesome. What I can do for you, and I'm only supposed to do this for a few patients, is what I can do is if you give me your word that you are 100% in and you will complete the 10 visits, we will give you the discount of X per visit. I just need your verbal agreement that you will commit to this to be able to get this discount. I'm trusting your word. Do I have your word on this? Yes. What we see is those people that give, yes, you're going to have some people that don't follow through on that word. But what we also see is that the number of people that continue on after those 10 visits is much higher with those people that gave the verbal agreement because they've been conditioned to come on that per visit basis versus the one that are at 10, like they do the 10 pack painful. There's a little bit more of a concrete, not stop, but there's a hurdle where they have to re-up or you have to have that conversation. Yep. With the ones that are just doing per visit, they're much more likely to continue on a per visit basis after those 10 visits are completed. So it makes up the difference for the people that don't follow through, but most people do follow through on their word if you position it that, hey, I trust that you're not somebody that would break their word. I get the impression that you're not somebody like that. Is that true? Yes. Yep. Right. You get because nobody wants to be that type of person. Right. And so you get their word and then they're good to go. So what we see is between that 30 to 50% painful rate for packages.
Right. So when you're selling packages, we're not forcing anyone to buy a package. We're saying that, hey, we're really confident that we can help you because we've helped this many people through this exact situation. Most people get the best results after 10 visits. Do you want to go with that? Mm-hmm. And then have the conversation. Do you want to, if you invest in 10 right away, we can give you this discount. Otherwise we go on a per visit basis. And some people are going to want those cost savings, but the vast majority of people are still going to go on a per visit basis, which is healthy for the business because you have that monthly recurring revenue coming in. But that 30% who are taking you up on the pay in full package, that's what's creating this influx of cash flow that we're then able to reinvest back into ads or reinvest back into our teams to be able to continue to grow and scale and maintain momentum. And so when you sell packages, it's not that you're smashing everyone into a box. It's here's what's getting the best results for people. Do you want that? I can give you this rate if you do. If not, we're going on a per visit basis. And so you're able to give everyone what it is that they want. And for those of you who are like, well, what if we get them better in 10 visits? As Ben said, start working on the next thing because their goal shouldn't be to get out of knee pain. It should be getting back to running marathons. And it's like, great. Now let's start working on your running performance. What are other areas of your body that you might be overcompensating that could lead to an injury later down the road? And start working on that. Start working on their performance. Because what that does is it starts to prime them on normalizing ongoing treatment and your continuity programs. So the last couple sessions of your package might be performance, because now by the time they're done with that package, now they want that monthly performance monthly performance package or that quarterly check-in package. And so there's so much we can do with patients besides the thing that they come in. We got to start learning to talk to them about the things that they need versus what they want, which sometimes is having a hard conversation about lifestyle change. Sometimes it's talking about, well, okay, like this injury happened, but if you're trying to get back to here, there's a little bit more work that we likely need to do in order for you to do that with the least likelihood of re-injury. So there's so much upside to selling packages, but it's not about smashing people into a schedule. It's about giving them and recommending what you know for a fact gets people the best results, and then letting the cards fall where they may and letting that patient choose for themselves what it is that they want. So anything to add to that, Ben?
No, just for those that are big on numbers, if you go the per visit route, if that's all you're offering, not doing packages, what we've seen across the board is there's a 2.41 visits per average plan of care. Vastly different from R9 that we do packages. That means if you are at the 2.4 mark, you have to find over 3 times more new patients than we do, because we are able to make each patient go further. And also on top of that, because we're getting people great long-term results, our referrals are higher, our Google reviews are higher. We're attracting more people because our marketing is better, because we're getting long-term results for people. And being able to establish a long-term relationship with these people, it's very hard to make a long-term great relationship off of just 2.4 visits. I promise you that. We really truly build a relationship with our patients because of the increased time that we have with them. So it's also going to make your marketing more efficient, because you're getting more Google reviews, you're getting more referrals because of the relationship that you're building and the long-term results that you're getting for patients too.
Then the other side of that coin is the emotional commitment that they make right out of the get-go. It's like, I'm here, I'm spending this amount of money, I'm here for 10 visits, I'm going to get every last bit of value I possibly can out of this. And they squeeze that juice a little bit harder, or to squeeze that orange a little bit harder to get more juice out of it, which again leads to better outcomes, leads to more referrals, more reviews. So there's so much upside to it. And I think a lot of people kind of get in their heads around the morality of it. But the reality is we're able to get people so much better results because of their commitment to themselves, because of the amount of time we're able to spend with them, and the amount of time we get to educate them and teach them about how to live their best life and prevent injuries in the future and rewire some of their beliefs around health and wellness as we age. So that's our piece. If you disagree, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to have you as a guest. We can have an open and honest conversation about it. Not an argument, but just like we love hearing other perspectives. We love having open and educated, intelligent conversations around this stuff. So if you disagree or would like to come on the podcast to talk more about the pros and cons of selling per visit versus selling packages, or any of the other conversations that we had during today's podcast, let us know in the comments. We'd love to have you. Hope you guys got value out of this episode. We'll see you on the next one.